Hound Labs, a California-based biotech company, is releasing the first commercial marijuana breathalyzer for employees to detect recent cannabis use in workers and as a way to deter workday use. New York was the first state to pass a law banning employers from testing workers for cannabis without signs of impairment as part of legalizing adult use cannabis. More than 2 years later, many say state laws lack clarity for employers and employees. The law allows employers to test workers if they reasonably suspect that a person is impaired by marijuana at work and they are showing obvious signs of use. Current tests, however, often detect marijuana use for up to 30 days prior, so it's difficult to determine whether someone is under the influence of cannabis or has simply consumed it in recent days. Hound Labs, a California-based biotechnology company, is releasing the first commercial marijuana breathalyzer for employers to detect recent cannabis use in workers as a way to deter workday use. New York was the first state to pass. Oh, sorry. So, nonetheless, Hound Labs hopes that its products will help employers reduce risks in the workplace due to cannabis impairment while maintaining employee recruitment and retention efforts by testing for a shorter window of cannabis use. And in a quote, since founding Hound Labs, we have witnessed shifts in legislative and cultural views regarding cannabis use, and employers have voiced their need for an objective testing solution, the company's co-founder Mike Lynn said in a statement. And employers can purchase the test from Hound Labs, and the company has sent hundreds of products to employers nationwide, they say. And that is it for Hound Labs. What do you think about this?
Jason, question. Does it
Yes.
say more, I'm sorry, about the technology they're doing here? Because I wish Dr. Mark or someone was on here. Haven't many said breathalyzers before won't work?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. I think that they are using this piece to raise more money, and the reality of it is they're talking about it for employers. No California employer, I don't think, could actually legally use this test, seeing as how they have like the beer law at lunch, where you can have one beer, and so the equivalent to that is you could have one joint during your lunch break as long as you're not impaired.
Does
So
it say somewhere you're allowed to have one
it's
joint?
the same equivalent.
No, I don't want to hear same
It's
equivalent.
the
I'm
same
asking,
equivalent.
does a law actually exist? Something in writing that says you can have one?
I mean, basically, the fact that they're allowing you to have one beer in the labor code
Oh,
is the
never
same
mind.
thing, Gretchen.
Okay, try using these arguments in a court of law.
I'll use them in a court of law all
It's
day.
basically the same thing.
It's the
What the
same
fuck are
thing.
you talking about?
It's the same
Is
thing.
there a law or isn't there?
There's a
Yes or
law,
no?
Gretchen. There's a law, Gretchen. There's lots of
Okay,
laws.
can you?
Lots
I
of
would
them.
love you to please send me that law to see this law.
You want me to perform
Yeah, find the statute.
my lawyer
Absolutely.
degrees? Send it over to you.
100%. And maybe I should check the chat. I'm sure the chat knows what's actually going on.
Chat always knows what's going on. The chat is popping today.
Simone, what do you think?
I mean, I'm all about smoking joints on the job. You know, that's what we do all day. Smoke joints on the job. That's why I have this job.
What would you do? What would you do if you were an employee somewhere and your employer said, "Here, stick this in your mouth and blow," and basically, I want to know if you're high or not?
I would sue the employer because unless I
Why?
did something
Drug testing is allowed by
no,
many private
that's not
places.
drug, but that's not a drug test
How is
that's
that
like
not?
been no, listen, hold on. That's not a drug
Yeah.
test that's actually been determined as like equivalent of like a metabolite test from like urine. So you cannot say, hey, come blow into this thing because it could not be accurate and the results could end up with you losing your job. That's why they tell you to shut the fuck up on the side of the road when a cop pulls you over, and don't take a breathalyzer test, get a blood test. Because breathalyzers are knowingly not exactly correct all the time. So
I understand that you shut the fuck
so
up because those things aren't generally accurate and you can fight it later and yada yada.
This is even less accurate.
Okay, well, here's all I'm saying. Is I understand that it's probably in your best interest to say no to these things or to shut the fuck up and yada yada. I get that. However, doesn't mean that they can't ask you to do it. That's not against the law.
I
Well,
would
I
I
don't
would
know
say
about
that
that.
unless it's in their employee
I
handbook
think
when
that's a
when
state
you
by
get
state
your
issue.
job.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If they have a stipulation that says any point we can,
Yeah,
I mean, whenever
yeah.
I worked in for the government, they could say go pee in this cup. They could have said go take a breath. They could have did whatever they wanted.
I could see that
That
for
was
people
in
that
the rules. No, but I've also had private employees. I've had morality clauses in contracts before that,
Sure.
are open to frankly interpretation. So
Mhm.
when you sign on to these things, to say that employer absolutely cannot ask you to do this is, I think, leading people down the wrong road.
I just think that we need to like realize that cannabis use in general at like it's not as impairing as alcohol, and I think that that's a big deal, and I think that there's got to be a lot more studies and comparisons on that, just specifically alcohol and cannabis, and they've done like they have like the drunk driving courses where they give you the beer goggles and they make you get behind the wheel and drive through the cone thing. I mean, they've done that with cannabis years ago. They did that. I think in Colorado they did that. And by and large, the cannabis drivers were much better at driving, impaired than the drivers who were consuming alcohol or impaired under alcohol or under the whatever the visual basis of
Mhm.
that. So I don't know. I mean, it's just to me, it's just more BS. It's more of a chance that we can still get in trouble for consuming cannabis, and it bugs me. But
I think these
hey, it's
lawyers
a
are setting themselves up, or I think these employers are setting themselves up for a lot of legal liability. I think Hound Labs could have a lot of legal liability with this too.
yeah.
I think there's going to be a
They're
lot of
definitely open for some
lawsuits.
lawsuits for sure.
If people start to try to use this, I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. Yep. Well,
I think you know nothing, Jason Beck. Next.
of course you're always going to
Wrap
say
it up.
that. Of course you're always going to say that. You're a hater. It's going to be okay though.
I'm not a hater. I just actually understand the law a
Okay.
lot better than you do, apparently.
I don't believe that for a second.
Okay, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Mama's got to go.
All right.